You know, every single company out there, from the little coffee shop on your corner to a global giant, is built on a specific legal blueprint. So today, we're going to break down what those blueprints are and why picking the right one is maybe the most critical decision a founder can make.
All right, let's kick things off with a little puzzle. What on earth could your local coffee shop and a massive corporation like Verizon possibly have in common? I mean, on the surface, practically nothing, but they both started the same way, as a simple idea. So, what's the real difference between them?
Well, the answer is their structure. You can think of it like their legal DNA. They are built on fundamentally different blueprints, and that one choice, made right at the start, dictates everything. How they make decisions, how they raise money, and most importantly, how much risk the owners are taking on.
All right, so let's actually follow a founder on their journey. We're going to see how one simple idea can branch out into so many different futures, all depending on the blueprint they choose at the very beginning.
It all starts right here. You've got this incredible idea. Maybe it's a killer recipe, a groundbreaking app, whatever it is. But to turn that spark into an actual flame, you have to give it a form. You have to pick its legal identity.
Okay, so let's say our founder decides to keep it simple, to go it alone. This is the most common starting line for any new business, and it's called a sole proprietorship.
And a sole proprietorship is, well, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's a business with one single owner. That person puts in all the money, they call all the shots, they run the whole show. Now, they can hire employees, sure, but the ownership, that's theirs and theirs alone.
And you can totally see the appeal, right? It's just so simple. You can get up and running with barely any paperwork. You get to be the boss. Absolute control. And the best part? Every single cent of profit goes right into your pocket. It's the ultimate freedom for an entrepreneur.
But, and this is a huge but, that freedom comes with a really scary catch: unlimited liability. Now, this is probably the single most important concept you need to grasp here. In the eyes of the law, the business is you. There is absolutely no separation, and that has massive personal consequences.
I'm going to say that again, because it's that critical. If the business runs into trouble, it's not just the business's problem, it's your problem. Your personal stuff is on the line. The law doesn't see a difference between your business bank account and your personal savings. It's all one big pot.
I mean, look at this. This is where it gets real. If your business can't pay its debts, creditors can come after your house, your car, your savings. I mean, everything you own. There's no shield. And on top of that, the business doesn't really have a life of its own. That's what they call a lack of continuity. If the owner passes away, legally the business dies right along with him.
So, okay, our founder is doing pretty well, but they're realizing, hey, I can't do this all by myself. They need more cash to grow, and they could really use someone else's skills to expand. It's time for the next blueprint, the partnership.
And that brings us to our next blueprint, the partnership. This is the legal deal where 2 or more people, usually up to about 20, decide to team up. They pool their money, they bring in different skills, they share the work, and they all agree to run the business together and split the profits.
So what's the deal here? Well, on the plus side, you get more money to work with, fresh perspectives, and someone to share that crazy workload. But the downsides, yeah, they're pretty big too. You now have to agree on everything, which can definitely lead to fights. And, would you look at that, our old friend, unlimited liability, is still hanging around. And just like before, if a partner decides to leave or passes away, the whole partnership dissolves. It just doesn't have that permanent legal identity.
Okay, so the business is a real success now, but that whole unlimited liability thing, it's keeping our founder up at night. They need to build a fortress, something to protect their personal life from the business. It's time to take the biggest leap of all, becoming a company.
And this is the total game changer. When you incorporate, the business becomes its own legal person, totally separate from you. It's like getting a superpower called limited liability. Now the owners, who we call shareholders, are only on the hook for the money they put in. If the company goes belly up, creditors can't touch their house or their car. Your personal stuff is finally safe. Whew!
Okay, this chart here really lays it all out. See that dividing line? That's the key. Just look at the limited liability column. It's a big no for sole proprietors and partnerships. That's that personal risk we've been talking about. But for companies, it's a yes. Same goes for separate legal identity and continuity. The moment you incorporate, the business is its own thing, built to outlive you. That is a massive fundamental shift.
The company isn't just one thing. There are 2 main flavors. You can think of a private company like a private club. You only sell shares to people you know, like family and friends. It makes it way easier to keep control, kind of like IKEA. But a public company, that's like opening the doors to a giant public market. It sells its shares to anyone on the stock exchange. And that's how giants like Verizon raised just insane amounts of money for huge projects.
All right, so once a business is really humming along and successful, a whole new set of blueprints opens up. These aren't really for getting started, they're for scaling up in some very clever ways.
Let's take franchising, for example. If you're the founder, the franchisor, it's a brilliant way to expand super fast using other people's money. The catch is, you do lose a little bit of control over your brand. Now, if you're the one buying in, the franchisee, you get a business that's already got a brand name and customers, but you've got to pay some pretty big fees and share your profits.
And then you've got something called a joint venture. This is basically when two or more totally separate companies decide to team up on one specific project. The perfect example is Google Earth. That was a joint venture between Google and NASA. They shared their tech, their costs, and their risks to build something amazing that neither of them could have pulled off on their own.
So wow, we've gone all the way from a single idea to these huge, complex, global strategies. Let's bring it all back home to that core decision every single founder has to make.
When you really boil it all down, it comes to this fundamental choice. Do you want total control over every little thing? Okay, but you have to accept total personal risk. That's the world of the sole proprietor and the partnership. Or are you willing to give up some of that control for shared success and, maybe more importantly, the safety net of limited liability? Well, that's the world of the company.
At the end of the day, there's no single right answer here. There's no best blueprint. There's only the one that's right for your idea, for your goals, and for how much risk you're willing to stomach. That choice is going to define your entire journey. So, what kind of founder are you?